morning, everyone. It's Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thanks for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the Catalyst report for December 24th through the 26th, 2019, our new moon solar eclipse portal that we're in. We're in a tunnel, really very dark tunnel that has been very challenging for people. So I want to give the astrological forecast and the weather for this time period so that we can all harness the energy to the best of our ability in order to get through this dark tunnel. I know for a fact that in my personal life and things that I read on the internet that we are collectively still very much struggling right now, and it is a very dark period, very dark indeed. We are in a dark moon, actually, the balsamic phase of the moon. It is the darkest period before the new moon happens. So it can be very easy to get lost right now in the swell of all kinds of emotions and possibly struggles and darkness. So I really want to bring this report here for people so that they can find their light at the end of the tunnel. And astrology for me has given me the tools and has anchored me into how the energies are cyclical and how they are related to everything else that surrounds us in our solar system and in the cosmos. So my goal is to offer that to whoever feels drawn to hear it, because it has really helped me, and I am here to give that guidance and information how it worked for me on my path. So anyway, we're going to pull up the chart for the 24th and get started here on this report. And we are, like I said, we are in a dark moon. We are the last phases here. So we got our moon here in Sagittarius as of noon Pacific Standard Time on the 24th. So we are continuing to walk through this tunnel, despite the fact that it may feel like it's closing in around us at the moment. It's likely that it could feel like we're falling into this tunnel, and that very well may be the case for a number of people. As I said, I can verify that from my own personal experience and also from my own observation with people that I know personally and just what I read on the interweb, that this is a time of struggle. We could be making a choice to walk through with courage and perhaps a beginner's mind, or we may feel powerless as we all fall screaming into a bottomless pit. These are the moments where we make a choice about something that we may feel like we have no power over, but we always have a choice, and that is where our empowerment comes from. So that's really going to be kind of the takeaway from this message as we move into the new moon and the solar eclipse. So the moon transits Sagittarius all day on the 24th. Here we are. Still showing what little light is left to focus on before she moves through the balsamic phase into the new moon on Wednesday night / Thursday morning. Before that time, though, she's carrying the divine optimism with her. And the second decan of Sagittarius, we can see here, she's at 15 degrees, is actually ruled by the moon and is the 9 of Wands in the tarot. The energy is fulfilled in the nines. If you're into the tarot or numerology at all, the energy of that element or that suit is fulfilled in the nines. So we're at a full understanding when we're talking about Sagittarius. And not only that, the understanding we have attained through study and mastery and guidance and mentorship of the alchemical principles is now what gives us strength to endure the challenges. The moon takes that understanding and belief and applies it to us and how we feel. So this moon, even though she's very dark and getting darker, the fact that she is in this sign of Sagittarius is what is giving us, I feel like, the strength to really endure. So very much harness that energy today. There's so much that we've learned, so much that we've gathered, so much that we are now understanding about not only the big picture in the world, but our ability to transmute anything into something worth creating, something that is beneficial to ourselves and to humanity. So really stick with this moon today, because she's going to be here all day on the 24th. She may be feeling at least kind of steady in Sagittarius right this moment, but really she's no match for the square to Neptune today. So we have this square to Neptune. You can see here this bright red line, square to Neptune in Pisces. The optimism and the need to be free has more to do with us than it does with the spiritual the spiritual whole or the spiritual mission. So the moon has to do with us, how we feel inside, our transient moods, and our psychic impressions. This is all just as fluid and formless as water is. The moon wants containment in order to have full expression, which is the connection to the Cancer archetype. But she's not really getting containment in expanded Sagittarius. That's the downside here, is that it's always expanding. It's always up in the air, looking up towards the big picture. So she may be drawing in that optimism for a sense of purpose, but that purpose dissolves just like everything else in Pisces. And the reality is that a moon in Sagittarius signifies a transient experience with that strength and optimism. So with the Neptune and Pisces here, the fog machine is just turned on to 11 constantly. And we need to surrender to the flow more than anything else, you know, whatever that means to us, connecting with source, getting into a meditative state, you know, whatever it is that we do, you know, dancing, music, art, whatever inspires us to connect to that place is something that is well served by Neptune, because the other side of it really is escapism and delusion, really. And so this square is very strong and can really overpower Sagittarius, the moon in Sagittarius today. So that's something to consider. Her last aspect in Sagittarius is a conjunction with Neptune, or Mercury, and that's going to be tomorrow. And it's just about on the galactic center. So we'll just call it a moon-Mercury conjunction at the galactic center. You can see Mercury here on the 24th. Is at 23 degrees Sagittarius. So if we move to the next day here, I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, 25th. There we go. Get that. There we go. Get that out of the way. Yes, yay. So then we have our moon. This is the solstice, or the new moon chart itself. So the moon has already come to the conjunction point with the sun. But you can see here that Mercury is at 25 degrees, 21 minutes, just a degree shy of the galactic center. So we'll just call that a moon-Mercury conjunction over the galactic center. There feels like a real potential for some psychic impressions, inspirations, and transmissions around the theme of the galactic center, whatever that was for us. The degree is symbolized by a sculptor, is the creation of something, you know, what we have inside us that we want to create, that we're inspired to create. So the symbol, the Sabian symbol, as a sculptor, is about immortalization. The sculptor is trying to give form to that inspiration and immortalize it in something physical, in a sculpture. The card for Sagittarius in the tarot is Temperance, or in the Thoughts deck, which is what I prefer to use, the name of the card is Art. And it is the card of alchemy, because only when you can understand the balance of opposition can you begin to create something. So you don't have just the scientific knowledge, but you need to have the creation, the artistic creation, the inspiration, to put them together in order to create real art or alchemy. So Mercury is going to bring something into our awareness about what we agreed to come here to create. And after this aspect, she goes void off course for a number of hours before she comes to connect with Capricorn right here for the pre-eclipse mingling. While we may be personally and emotionally making sense of what we believe and how it fits into why we're here, there's some real gifts from Uranus and the sun today, the 24th, that can stimulate an actual release. So let's, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm gonna go back to the 24th so I can show you this. Because I'm kind of jumping all over the place when I wrote this. It was definitely a stream of consciousness. So we have the sun here, 2 degrees, 42 minutes in a, coming very soon into a trine with Uranus in Taurus. The sun in early Capricorn is illuminating a desire to grow as a result of the very real and perhaps disruptive changes happening in our physical environments, Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is still retrograde, so the awakenings that are stimulating real and physical change may seem more magnified, or perhaps maybe stalled or disjointed, or just not quite aligned in some way. There's something that is drawing our attention to it even more because it's not a full expression of the energy yet while it's retrograde. Once Uranus is direct, right after the next full moon, the disruptors will be on full power. What may have been a process not fully realized will suddenly go into full gear, and that's going to be in the height of the lunar cycle, the full moon in 2 weeks. This is a moment where the sun is aligning with Uranus to show us the areas that we are still in need of growth, but will yield actual results on some level if we pay attention to it. This could be a real release today, which is very auspicious considering the need for some clarity and illumination around these disruptive, revolutionary, quick changes, because as the new moon comes, it's going to be very important to understand that and to be right with that and aligned with it, because it's going to be necessary as we move forward. So there's still a nagging piece to be addressed on the 24th, and it's this right here, this sesqua square between Mars and Scorpio and the Cancer North Node. Mars is getting into the mastery levels of Scorpio right now and getting some deep answers from some deep investigation. And there may be even a deeper understanding of our own shadow, power dynamics, and the responsibility inherent in actual relationships and partnerships. Yet there's a square type of energy here that is so subtle that we may not even know it's there. Mars may be getting a bit too ambitious or too desirous for his own good, feeling powerful by all the time in the Scorpio realms. You know, there's a lot of information that Mars is already the action hero warrior. And so getting into those mastery levels of what he has been coming, you know, he's feeling pretty strong and pretty good about going into these realms and succeeding so far, or being incredibly frustrated and acting out. That's the other side of it. Powerful enough to start manipulating situations in order to satisfy a desire or an appetite for something. This presents a challenge to our collective destiny here, the sacred feminine, the nurturing energy that is here to hold space for supporting all of us. Mars may start identifying with the darkness and the shadow, even without realizing that's the case. That is a big potential right now, especially as Mars gets into these last 10 degrees, these mastery degrees of Scorpio. It's easy to get lost in the darkness, especially with the moon in the balsamic phase. Mars in a tense aspect to the moon's home sign could have a lot of things occurring subconsciously, under the surface, under our own radars when it comes to how we act in relation to the community, to our families, to ourselves, really. This is something that is very active, but is also below the surface that we don't quite understand. And so this I've seen play out too, with people not really understanding why they're feeling the way they're feeling. And even yesterday, I can attest to the fact with feeling so much pain and so much darkness that really wasn't mine, but is, you know, still on the surface nonetheless and coming out of me. And I feel like this is a really good indication or explanation in some ways of what that is, because here is our collective destiny in Cancer, to be empathic in some ways and to feel what it is that we're all going through. And Mars digging up, getting very, very powerful here, I think, and really dredging up a lot could really create some tension here. And I feel like that's something that we're all experiencing. This is a pivotal time. So the moon enters Capricorn on the 25th, Christmas Day in the US. You can see here the moon now. This is the eclipse chart. Our moon now shifts towards structure when she gets into Capricorn, long-term planning, success in business. And the moon promotes us being very serious about all of this and why we're building it. We already have 3 planets, 1, 2, 3, and the sun in Capricorn right now. So adding a moon there at the new moon and as it's a solar eclipse can bring a high potency of manifestation potential and also some very serious attitudes and feelings about what we're creating. So before that, though, the moon squares Chiron and Aries right here. There's Chiron and Aries. It seems almost like an obvious challenge between our mood that is focused on mastery and maturity and Chiron and Aries, who is still the tantruming child that really just needs to be acknowledged. So the moon in Capricorn can really keep us from giving a voice to that inner child. And I think that there's a valuable lesson about how to honor both voices at the same time, to honor our desire and our drive for maturity and mastery in terms of what we're building, and also to at the same time give voice to the inner child that is crying and tantruming and acting out, because really just needs to be seen and heard for what is being experienced. And this square here could really bring this out if we choose to harness it. Otherwise, it's going to just seem we're going to struggle even more if we resist it. The moon comes along and trines Uranus as well before the eclipse in Taurus. So this is what the sun did the previous day on the 24th. And this is how we can integrate what we learned into us and how we feel about it. We can potentially come to understand more directly how we were growing and learning from those disruptive Uranian changes or upgrades. And we can integrate it into what we are building within ourselves as a form of structure and support. Both of these objects are not at dignity in their respective signs when making this aspect. Moon in Capricorn is in detriment. Uranus in Taurus is in fall. They are not able to utilize the full potential of the energies in which they are in and could be misused or weakened in some way. So I believe that to be a way of softening the negative impact that each sign is having on the object when this trine is happening. So Moon in Capricorn can make us too focused on, being the boss and being diligent, and Uranus and Taurus can make us too resistant and stubborn to these changes. And so these two coming into a trine with each other feels like it might soften that a little bit, the negative impact, and maybe allow some things in to help us integrate these energies. Or if we're not working with it, the trine is just reinforcing what already isn't working in that scenario, which is a moon that's too serious to be vulnerable, which fully supports a total upheaval physically to create the change necessary to be more vulnerable. So in some ways, it's like going to force your hand if you're not really working with the energies and resisting them. Either way, it is the opening act before the solar eclipse, and since it is the same aspect that the sun had with Uranus just the day prior, it seems significant to pay attention to. The degree for the new moon is a war party getting into a canoe and beginning to chant, sing, and dance. Not only has everyone gotten into the canoe, now the ritual begins. Despite this motivation and seriousness toward manifestation, because the moon is in detriment in Capricorn, meaning that the moon is in the sign opposite of its home, the energy is weak or misused or negative. So as a new moon, there's no light shining onto that moon. It is a moment to go totally within, to get clear intention about how to progress through the next cycle. Capricorn pushes us to keep moving in some ways, but a new moon here would be best served with just a bit of patience. We have a ring of fire to give us something to hold on to. Another reminder of the return of the light. So the eclipse happens at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time and is followed just a couple hours later by a moon conjuncting with Jupiter, giving us competence and confidence and guidance in our long-term plans for success. Connecting with the moon right after this eclipse feels like it's going to expand on whatever themes are relevant to you when it comes to the long-term structures of our lives and the world. We may also have some insights around what our purpose is at this time. The negative aspect of this energy is a self-righteous attitude that really fuels our focus on empire building. That is the moon misappropriating the Capricorn energy as a substitute for emotional security, right? That's what Cancer is, emotional security. The other side of the eclipse, right? So we're going to move here. That the eclipse happens. We do our new moon intentions, seed planting type of energy, really getting clear on what we're doing. The other side of the eclipse has a moon conjunct the south node. So the moon here, this is noon Pacific Standard Time, so it's already passed, but at this point it conjuncts the south node of the moon, bringing our attention to the fact that we've been using that ascension energy, that career building energy, in possibly an inappropriate way. It's time to let go of this like constant empire building energy, you know, collectively. That's what we're letting go of with the south node. The opposition is to the north node in Cancer, down here, supporting the recognition even more with the power struggle between feeling the need to dominate and feeling called to be supportive. The moon's sextile at this point then to, so the day of the 24th, it was square, and now as it's in Capricorn, it is sextile to Neptune in the evening of the 26th. Feels more like an opportunity to redirect that ambition toward building something that is in line spiritually. The second decan of Capricorn, the second 10 degrees, so 10 degrees to 19 degrees, which is where the moon is, supports the work projects, the actual building phase. So depending on how we have aligned with the moon during the eclipse, Neptune can be a source of inspiration or a tool, or a tool of misdirection if we are trying to grab for power. I keep thinking about the media being Neptune and Pisces type of thing. So misdirection and delusion in some ways. Otherwise, it can be just another form of delusion, that reinforces misguided needs to create structures to feel safe and secure. So again, the fog machine, there's no clarity here with Neptune and Pisces. It's so strong. It's so easy to get lost and to drown in these waters. It's very important that we are aware of that every step of the way. So this new moon kind of feels like a time to grow up. Let's go here. We're going to stop the share. I'm going to talk right at you. The big waves are coming in, and it's time to put all that training and experience to the test. The energy keeps building. It's deeper and more intense, and the wave is building energy to crest, right? Which will happen at the full moon lunar eclipse, followed by Saturn and Pluto conjuncting, followed by Uranus moving direct in Taurus. For now, we just gotta wait for the wave to build and then start paddling out, really. Not sure why I'm using this surfing analogy, because I've never surfed in my life, but I will tell you that I've had my reoccurring nightmares and dreams are about tsunamis and tidal waves, and that, you know, there's a lot of different reasons for that, and one day I might talk more about that. But I do dream of tidal waves and tsunamis a lot, and it feels like the right analogy for this particular story. So all the work, all the training, the practice hours, all the times you've wiped out surfing, it's all been to get you here for this one big wave that we're gonna ride together. The solar eclipse feels like the last gathering of energy before we paddle out, right? It's to, you know, take some deep breaths, really anchor into our confidence and know exactly what we're doing before we start paddling out. Because once that happens, like, there's no going back necessarily. You're riding the wave out or it's going to destroy you. The moment where we center ourselves and become fully aware of our competence and mastery. So I really invite you on this Christmas new moon solar eclipse time to take stock of everything that's happened before, you know, realize that this is time to put our mastery to the test and to grow up spiritually in some ways, and to know this big wave is coming and that we are choosing to be here for this big wave. So it's not necessarily a great time. It's, you know, it's perfect that it's on Christmas in the Western world because a lot of people have time off. They're kind of chilling with their families. This is a really good time to, like, just take stock of what you have, be in that reflective inner awareness zone in order to see where you're at, see where you need to release. You know, the sun trining Uranus, you know, this is really great illumination. What needs to be released, you know, in order for this, like, you know, for you to align with Uranus rather than resist it, because there is a lot of resistance with something so much about the collective third eye when it comes to Taurus. It can be stubborn, it can be resistant. And so The sun's really going to illuminate that. And when the moon comes around the next day, right before the eclipse, we're going to feel what that is internally as opposed to just seeing it from above with the sun. So I'm going to do a reading in a little bit, just to get some more clarity, just because this is so potent. And I feel like the Akashic Tarot really really digs into a lot of these energies in a way that can really clarify what's happening astrologically and give some more potential guidance and synchronicities. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you have a really fulfilling and safe Christmas and new moon solar eclipse, and I will see you on the next video. Take care of yourselves and take care of everybody, and I'll see you soon.